welcome back to the Fake Straight Podcast. I'm the host, your girl, Tanara. Please note that the opinions expressed by any guests on this show do not necessarily represent my views or the views of Fake Straight Media. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is advised. Grab your favorite beverage or mine, a glass of champagne, clink clink, and let's get into it, y'all. Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Fake Straight Podcast. I'm your host, your girl, Tanara, and this is Lex. Lex, introduce yourself.
So, what's up, y'all? I'm Lex Dunbar from North Philly. Shout out to Philly. My pronouns, and the only pronouns I use are they, them pronouns. I am a non-binary, trans-masculine, bisexual person. So it seems like I don't like to make a choice in any area. I want it all. So
you were like, not a box. I want everything. I want everything.
Like all the boxes are mine, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, welcome, Lex. I always say that I obviously identify as Black, queer, female, all of this, but that does not mean I'm the authority of everything that is Black, LGBTQ plus. So I was so excited to talk with you and just learn more about your background, to share with people what you feel it means to be non-binary and transgender. Tell us about siblings, parental dynamic, any kind of religion, just how you grew up, paint a picture for us.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in North Philly. Single mom, but I grew up in an intergenerational household. So times with my maternal grandparents and then also with my great grandmother, who we were blessed to have until she was 86. She left us in 2016. So from a family who were born and raised in the South, Sumter, South Carolina, and so have grew up with very Southern roots, right? And so big family. My mom has 21 first cousins or something like that, right? So I'm an only child, but I grew up in the house with cousins as siblings. And so every holiday we got together, you got a bunch of kids and a bunch of cousins. And so we would have talent shows at Thanksgiving, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, what did you do? What was your talent?
One time, I love my family. But
were you break dancing?
No, I never broke dance, but my cousin one time taught me how to beatbox, and so for a year I practiced because I just knew at this
Dougie Fresh beatboxing.
Yeah, I was get that show right, bro. I practiced for a whole year. I was so serious, so dedicated. We get to the talent show, the family. I stand up in the dining room. Everybody's around.
Ready.
These niggas booed me. My mother came out as the Sandman to boo me off our little stage in the dining room. I'll never forget that, and I'm never gonna forget them.
So, they didn't even let you finish?
No, they never let me finish, bro. It's crazy.
Can you share a little bit of what you did? We're either going to reaffirm you or reaffirm your mother.
We won't be doing that. I only bring that out around kids because they think I'm cool. So yeah, I grew up in a really fun family, a really dope community and neighborhood. I've always been, a wild child. I still am.
Okay. With coming into terms of who you are as a person, how did we get from little Lex to Lex right now?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
So I grew up in the church, grew up apostolic, Pentecostal apostolic, and so it was very much, I was a girl child, and so skirts only. It was in my neighborhood. We would walk to church often, and we were in church all day long, right? Sunday school 9:00, service at 11. Well, we were until maybe 3. Then we were back at 6 p.m. until 9. Sundays was for Jesus.
This is a marathon. It's a Jesus marathon.
And you better not go to sleep on Monday in school.
No, absolutely not.
Right? And so I grew in a very, very strict, religious environment, right? And at the same time, I've always been interested in religion, but remember even being a child, like having dreams and stuff that I didn't understand. And so when I was younger, played with boys a lot. I remember there's this like famous story in our family, legend story of I got in trouble one time because I was trying to like pee outside like the boys. And in my mind, I'm like, well, they can pee outside. Why can't I pee outside?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go in the house because if I go in the house, you're going to tell me to do something. Like,
Right.
I just want to pee outside and keep playing.
And keep going.
And so I do remember from a young age being like, feeling more comfortable when I was with boys, right? Like, and like, but within the church, there was no space for me to think about that.
Yeah.
And as I got a little bit older, I knew that I liked girls. Again, there was no space for me to really deal with that. That was sinful. I would get in trouble, right?
How old were you when you first were like, I like girls? When it was like a realization?
Around 12.
Okay.
Around 12, yeah. But I also like boys, right? And so I've always just liked everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
I like everybody. Everybody
really
can get it.
Like, everybody get it. And so I think the confusing part, because there was no talk about sex or sexuality at all, right? It was just a no. I couldn't even have boys call the house or any of that other stuff. So the confusing part is because I like boys, it was like, oh, I could just, forget about this other side of me. And then I became super, super religious and, tried to pray the gay away for a very, very long time.
How old were you when you say you became?
This was around 16.
And what does that mean when you say you became super religious?
I mean, I stopped cussing. I really stopped like hanging out with my friends and partying. Like I didn't go to my prom. I intentionally chose to go to a Christian college because I was afraid that like I wanted to go to HBCU, but I was so afraid that I would have so much fun.
Yeah.
Like legitimately.
And you would have.
And I would have, right? Like, and my understanding at the time was like, oh, if I have fun and I let myself do that, then like, I'm gonna go to hell. I can't do that. So I got to stay away from all of that,
Yeah.
Go to a Christian college. I stopped listening to like secular music. I only listened to Christian music for a very long time, almost 11 years, honestly, of my life. Yeah. And a lot of that was running away from who I felt I was, but there was no space for me to be that.
Yeah.
So 2016, I'm leaving Dallas, Texas, because my great grandma just passed. I'm moving back home to Philly, and it was December of 2016, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't even know if I actually believe all this stuff about heaven or hell, but if I do, then like I have to think about something. And so finally, I told myself, I was like, all right, January, I'm gonna switch my dating profile over to bisexual. I was like, because here's the thing. If I'm going to go to hell because I'm gay, or if I don't allow myself to pursue this and I like take myself out of this earth, I unalive myself and I go to hell for that, I'm going to go to hell either way.
Yeah.
So might as well just try being gay, see what happens, right? Like legitimately, that was like my like thought process.
Yeah. Did you feel like that was the option? Did you feel like you were in such this turmoil, like mentally, that you were like, I'm going to unalive myself? Or, oh, wow, okay.
That was really it for me because I wasn't dating. I like men sexually, but that's it, right? Like I don't actually want to talk to them or date them, right?
Love you, Black Kings, but I'm not interested.
I'm just not interested. You just don't do it for me, right? Like, and so it was just at this point of my life where I was not allowing myself to have any sort of intimate relationships, emotionally or anything, because I wouldn't allow myself to be who I really was.
Yeah.
And then, I did my research and I was like, I don't even know what gay sex is. Like, legitimately. Like,
how do I start this?
Literally. Like, I'm Googling, how do you eat vagina? I swear to God, y'all. I swear to God. Because I'm sexually intellectual. I swear to God. And I wasn't even looking for porn. Like, I needed, like
a guide,
essays.
like a tutorial.
Literally, like, give me the essay. Where's the research? Like, and I'm such a person, I have to understand it because I want to be good at a thing the first time I do it, right? Like,
I know that's right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I remember my first time, I was like, oh yeah, this we made it.
Now we're on to something.
Now we're on to something. So then when you engage in a practice of something, you still have to do the work to like rid your mind of all the stuff that you believed about yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so I really had to start going on a journey of like, I was gay, but I wasn't queer, right? Like, And so I had to do a journey of queerness and like, what does that actually mean for me? That was in 2017. I didn't come out as trans until 2021. And it took a long time. And a lot of that is rooted in religious trauma, right? Like telling people like, I think I should have been a boy. And then being like, no, you've just been abused.
Yeah.
Right. And so your mind's just effed up because you've had all this abuse. And so I took all this on as if I was the problem. Right?
Yeah. It's like the four agreements when they talk about like taking on someone else's word and like that becomes your truth. It's like, and that's in whatever. It's like if you grow up and someone's telling you like you're not smart or you're not pretty and you're hearing that. And so then you take that on and that's your truth. It's like the same thing.
And then it leaves you stuck.
Yeah.
And so, so then I just was doing all that work and then asking questions about transness, again, doing more research, what this is how I felt. And I started taking testosterone in 2022. I just celebrated 2 years in March. And it has been one of the most life-saving decisions I've ever encountered for myself. Like, I look in the mirror and I like what I see.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing that has ever happened to me before.
So I want to talk more about this. I want to ask, before we get into that, when you, in your mind, you were like, okay, this is who I am. Did you consider like, oh shit, now I'm going to have to tell family. Now I'm going to have to tell friends. Like, and where did you get that courage to do that?
Yeah, I was really afraid because I knew that I was going to lose people. And I did. But luckily at the time, actually, I was involved in a Black church out back in Philly that was so queer and trans affirming.
Wow.
Full of Black women with like PhDs who were like smart and beautiful and literally gave me the courage. I remember my pastor being like, just be who you are, right? Like, and I was like, oh, that's an option, right?
Yeah.
That's wild that I didn't actually consider that an option, right? And so, my mom cried when I told her, and then the rest of my family. I've always been the type of person of like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Either y'all gonna fuck with me or y'all not. And my family has realized. One of my cousins was like, "Yeah, we've known that about you since you were like 12."
Yeah.
And so we just kind of be like, "All right, it is what it is." And so whether or not they have feelings about it, no one has said anything to me. It's all love when we around each other.
Yeah.
And that's really all I care about. Like,
that's all I care about.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Like, you can have your personal beliefs, opinions, like respect me in my face, and then you can discuss it. Talk amongst yourselves when you leave.
It had nothing to do with
I don't care.
So it was painful. It was really, really painful, but I did have really good community at the time.
Yes, that's so important.
And it really just came down to like, I have been trying to live for other people for so long and was so depressed, so full of self-hatred. And like, I was tired of that.
It's a burden to carry.
It's a burden. And if you want something different, you have to make a different choice, right?
Yeah.
And that is what I had to keep reminding myself of, like, I'm choosing my own life and my own freedom. And if I lose people along the way, then y'all didn't actually fuck with me anyway. And it's cool. Because what I've gained has been so much more than any of those people that I lost.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that for you, like just walking and standing in your truth, regardless of, what people have to say. So for folks who don't know about the terminology of transitioning, can you walk us through, what does it mean when you said, I want to transition in 2021?
Yeah, so you have like a transgender, think about it like an umbrella, right? Like transgender is an umbrella term. Non-binary would be under that umbrella of terms of transgender, right? So I'm transgender, I'm non-binary, which means for me, everyone has their own definitions. For me, I don't feel like a man. I don't feel like a woman. I am masculine, right? So I say masculine, non-binary. Right? I want to dress masculine. I want to look masculine. I started taking testosterone. A lot of cisgender men also take testosterone.
Why would they take testosterone?
So, because their levels are low, right? Like with all the stuff in our food or whatever, like you have some cisgender women who have higher testosterone, right? Like before I transitioned, I already had high testosterone because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? Like that elevates your testosterone. And so cisgender women, if you have hair on your face and all of that, you have higher testosterone in your body. You'll take estrogen usually to bring that down. Men who sometimes it is sexual dysfunction that they are experiencing, or they are losing hair, or any of these other things. They don't have enough muscle mass. They'll also take testosterone.
Oh,
right?
I need testosterone then for muscle mass.
It's going to give you other things you
the
don't
gym
want.
is not working on these arms.
So yeah, and so once a week, I take a shot of testosterone, prescribed by my doctor. And what it has changed in me, my voice is pretty deep. Obviously, you can see some hair on my face, right? There are other things that if you take me on a date, I'll tell you about. It's free. I'll show you. I'll show you before I tell you. And so really, my decision for transitioning, so what I mean by transitioning is I wanted a more masculine body. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I already had really broad shoulders, but taking testosterone, they're more defined. Right. Mm-hmm. Also lost 40 pounds in 2 years with going to the gym maybe twice. Right.
Nice. See, I really need testosterone.
It's not fair.
I'm sold.
It's not fair, actually. It's so easy. Like, I will literally think about working out and lose two pounds. Like, and so I wanted a masculinized body. I wanted hair in my face. I wanted a deeper voice, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was more of a physical aesthetic, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted my body to be more muscular. And so transition just mean that I wanted my body to transition from looking what folks would consider a woman or femme, right? Or female, into being more masculine. And so, yeah, and it's been really dope. It's so much fun. I hate the needles, but the results have been amazing.
Yeah. Are there crazy side effects?
I've not had any. I've got some hair things going on, but we take care of that. I feel my emotions more deeply, but I'm in therapy, have been, and I know what I need to do in order to be well. I've not had any negative side effects, honestly. I sweat a little bit more, I guess. But that's it.
Okay, never mind.
That's it. Like, I'm hot all the time. But yeah, it's been really cool. It really has been such a beautiful journey.
What does that look like for you for community? I know you said your community back then was really important to you as you started transitioning. What does that circle look like?
Yeah, I wouldn't be who I am without my folks, like, period. My folks back home, my folks here in Denver, and all the other places that I lived. One of the craziest things about living in white ass Denver is I have a dope ass Black queer community.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like how?
It's so right here. Yeah. And so I have my bros, affectionately, boys group or whatever. Shout out to y'all. And they hold me down. It's a bunch of us who are in various stages of our masculine identity, trying to figure out what does it mean to be masculine and not toxic. I want to be masculine because I'm that guy, I'm that nigga. Yeah. And also I'm soft and I'm gentle, right? Yeah. And I'm caring and I'm kind, right? Don't test me. Right?
That's what you're not going to do.
I'm not sweet. I'm soft, right? Like, those are two different things, right? I just want to, in case somebody was like, oh,
don't try me.
Don't try
me.
Okay. But like, and that's been really beautiful for me because, like, we get to try out different things. Like, what does it mean? Like, I kind of want to be a sports bro.
Yeah.
Maybe. Mostly because sports, it's just fun, right? And people just drink and yell, right? Yeah. I don't care about none of that shit, right? But you get to try on different identities and, like, figure out what works for you. And that's been really cool, right? Most of my friends here, especially, are queer. And so it's just a different perspective. I'm not around a lot of boring-ass straight people.
Yeah.
Have the same sort of mindset that's just like so within this box of what is a family or
you
what
have
is a
to
relationship.
Be this way. You have to do this.
And that's just so boring to me. You know what I'm saying? Community is important. Like, who I am, all the success that I have, the healing and all of that, like, it is not just me. It's because niggas hold me down.
Yes. So how do you take care of yourself?
A lot of therapy and different types of therapy. For a while, I was doing some trauma work called brain spotting, and it's somatic body work. It was rough, but I have a lot of trauma, and is stored in the body, right?
Yeah.
Yoga, really like hanging out with people and being like, I got this going on. This is what I need. Like expressing the needs that I have and allowing my community to meet those for me. Traveling, I love to travel. I'm not a marathon person in life. I'm a sprinter. And so I'm going to go real hard for a couple of months. And then I'm going to take a break and I'm going to party real hard.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna go real hard for a couple months. And then I'm gonna take a break. And like some people are like marathon. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm
right?
a marathon. I'm like, let's keep it going.
I'm either working or I'm partying, right? Like we're not mixing the two.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think even knowing that about myself and knowing my rhythm, right, and knowing that like, you know, after 3 months, I do need a break, right?
Yeah.
And so the school schedule kind of works really well for me in that. But yeah, yoga, therapy, hanging out with people, you know, getting a massage when I can. Yeah, or like haircuts, right? Or, you know, sometimes the boys and I will go get our toes done, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, what does it look like just to be like, you know, I need to be loved, right?
Yeah,
Like,
just taking care of yourself, nourishing yourself.
Yeah.
I love it. So you're in school right now. Hey, working on your PhD.
I am.
Tell us about this.
Yes. So I am a student at the University of Denver and Ilo School of Theology. It's a joint program in the study of religion. We talked, you know, before about how I grew up really conservative and all that. And so I basically study the ways Christianity has negatively influenced Black folks in America, specifically in their ideas about God, sex and sexuality, gender, and the self, right? And so I write a lot about, you know, decolonizing sex, or, you know, trying to help Black folks like realize that God's not going to send them to hell because they like pleasure. Like,
what does decolonizing sex mean?
I shouldn't even say that word because it's a whole.
I was like, hold on now. I'm not working on my PhD. Explain it to me.
So basically, what I meant by that is the sort of moral codes or the ways that we think about what sex should be or shouldn't be, what's good or bad about sex, right? Those are really rooted in white supremacist ideas. And white supremacist ideas along with Christianity being like an imperial force. And so you think about like war and domination and all that, right? And so a traditional or historical or ancestral sort of understanding of African spirituality and sex and sexuality were very different before the Europeans met us, right?
Got it.
And colonized our mind. And so sort of for generations made us believe that sex is bad, pleasure is bad, right? The only type of sex is good is like with a man and a woman in your house under the covers, right?
Yeah.
Like really boring, you know, like
turn the lights off.
Turn the lights off, you know, like there's no foreplay,
Yeah.
like that, right? I don't think God's pleased with that type of sex.
No, I'm not pleased with
I'm
it.
not pleased with that shit. And so I do a lot of studying about that. Really, my goal is because so much of the church fucked me up as a person, and has fucked up so many of my other friends. Like I said earlier, I have to study a thing and understand a thing intellectually before I'm able to move on. And so that's what I want to give folks. I just want to raise our consciousness, be like, all of this internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia, internalized blackness, internalized anti-fatness, like all of that is just rooted in this idea that like James Baldwin says, that we believed what white people said about us, right? And I want us to not do that. Right. So that's my work.
That's so deep, because if you come from a religious background, it is so rooted in you. It's so ingrained in you. What did it look like for you to unlearn and unpack that?
A lot of reading, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, talking to people. Like I literally was in a moment of, I was like on like a life raft in the ocean being like, help me. You know, that Kevin Hart was like, help me, please, nigga. Like, that's really help. Like, but that's really how I was. Like, and because of that, like, I knew that I needed. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so I would ask questions. And I remember my ex and I, one of the first books that we read, it's not one that I would necessarily suggest now because I'm far from that mindset, was called God and the Gay Christian. And it was this white guy, who basically talked about his journey of being a conservative Christian and being gay, and like he like goes through scripture and all that. And I needed to know that other people was thinking about this, right? Like other people were trying to reconcile how they grew up and where they are now, and either still be people of faith or not, right? So there was a lot of unpacking. There was a lot of crying, right? A lot of crying. Because I missed out. I didn't date in my 20s because I didn't allow myself to be queer. So then I started dating, and the first person I seriously dated, I married. I'm 2 years divorced now, right? And so there was a lot of catching up to do, right? Like I was very immature and juvenile in my dating history because I had no experience, right? Because the church had always said no.
So you're not even really forming your own thoughts. I don't consider myself religious. I grew up religious. I believe in God. I believe in all of the things, but you really are like, what do I really believe in based on what the Bible told me, based on what my mother told me, what the saints in the church told me? Like, what are my thoughts? I'm never trying to convert anyone to anything. I always have to give this disclaimer. Like, I'm not the lesbian whisperer. I'm not an atheist. I'm not trying to convert anyone. But I do challenge people to think for themselves. Like, they don't realize that if you grew up in a certain way, you're not even critically thinking. You're not thinking for yourself. You're just like, this is what was given to me, and I'm literally just regurgitating it. There's no thought to it.
And we regurgitate stuff that we don't actually believe, right? Because if you want to know what you believe, look at your behavior. Look at what you do. Right?
That part.
And so what happens is we do things and we say we believe other things, and so it causes this cognitive dissonance, right? And so our mind is kind of like fighting against itself because I'm in all of this turmoil because I say I believe these things, but my actions are not aligned, right? And so that's where the critical thinking comes in, of like, what do I actually believe? I believe that pleasure is good. My actions show that. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you and I talked. Your actions show that you believe.
My actions show that I believe in pleasure. A lot of it. A lot of it. Right? And so I had to rectify that with myself and accept it about myself. Right? Like, accepting the fact that, like, because I like pleasure, because I'm bi, because, like, I am, like, all the sex all the time with all the people, right? Like, it's a great life, right? Like, and there's goodness there, right? And working with my therapist and with my friends to be like, who I am and what I desire is good. And the more that I stand in the truth of who I am, the more intimate friendships that I get to have, right? I am the person in the club that will be in a corner with the motherfucker and they're crying at me, telling me their business, right? Because I lead with vulnerability, right? Like I lead with important. There is no judgment. I am a slutty whore and I love it. And there's no judgment.
I own it,
right? Like, I walk into the room knowing that I'm probably the sluttiest whore in the room, and I love that for me.
I'm probably fucking somebody when I leave here.
A few
Lex, bye. Bye, Lex. That's a great segue to switching gears from religion. Okay, let's talk about your dating life. I always want to put in a little plug for the girls, for the guys, for everybody now. I want to put in a plug in case people are like, ooh, who's that on Fake Straight?
I would like to publicly say no one is publicly claiming me right now. So
I'm out here.
So I identify as polyamorous. Again, access many lovers, right? Like, I love. And
I want you to be like on a lounge, like someone feeding you grapes and fanning you.
That's exactly what I want. That's what I deserve.
I want men and women feeding you grapes.
Precisely. That is that.
You're draped in silk robes. That's what it's giving.
That's the life that I envision for myself.
We're manifesting that.
Capitalism is keeping me down. So I'm not being publicly claimed right now, so shoot your shot. So when it comes to romance, because that's what I'm looking for, like, Like, I really am. I love dating. I'm such a romantic at heart. Like, I am the nigga that's like watching the rom-coms, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm crying with the Johns. Like, I love that shit.
So what's the most romantic thing you've done for a partner?
Oh man, there's so many of them.
Oh wow.
Most romantic.
Or actually, no.
Yeah, because that's hard.
That is, and of course, you think everything you've done was great.
And it was.
Okay. And it was. No, what's the most romantic thing someone has done for you?
Probably easier to talk about the most romantic thing I've done.
Damn.
Because here's
tough.
the thing.
Y'all
I
gonna be
love
showing
films.
up.
I love y'all. Films. I love y'all so
Don't
much.
talk about us.
I love y'all so much. And somehow, and I do believe this is cis men's fault, and so I'm not blaming y'all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all on y'all, right? But y'all don't be doing it. Y'all don't be showing up. Y'all can be real lazy lovers and real lazy romance.
That's not me, okay? That's not me. That's them,
y'all
okay?
can be real lazy, and it's unfortunate because I think patriarchy is to blame for that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And people think all the time, oh, like, you know, the man is supposed to do all this, the man is supposed to do all this, and we bring that stuff into queerness, and it doesn't work, and it's whack, right?
Oh, because you don't know. It's like, to your point, I mean, you had to Google how to eat vagina.
Exactly.
I did not. I learned along the way.
Listen, like I said, I wanted all the information so I knew, like, what are the patterns? You know what I'm saying? Like, give me that.
I will say what I had to learn was I had to learn how to be a good lesbian, right?
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. I talk about it on the podcast. I do like more traditional roles when I'm dating women because I do love to be like the femme one. I love to take care of things, be nurturing, and I do love a more assertive, dominant partner.
Yeah.
But to my defense, after my first relationship, I realized I was still acting in my relationship how I acted when I dated men.
Yep.
So I still want all these things. Yes, please be assertive. Please be dominant. Please like lead. But also, I'm still dating a woman. Yeah. So you have to like, okay, well, what can I do for you? What can I do to make you feel loved, to feel seen? And I was horrible at that in my first relationship. And I do notice, or I hear that a lot of femmes are like that because they're so used to being taken care of, they don't take care of their partner. So,
and the one thing I even want to
at this point, I got it.
And we have to get it because I even want to push back on like men also deserve to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
for sure.
If we are trying to build connection and community, why is it the job for one person to do the caring, to do the wooing, to do the like showing up and reminding you that I like you, right? Like, and so, and I want us to think about that even more. Like, let's both show up because what I'm realizing is when I do get romance back, it only increases how much I want to do.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And so then it becomes this sort of
100%.
Like,
if I feel like I'm being taken care of, I'm like, please let me. It's like I'm already like naturally like I'm a nurturer. I want to take care of you, and I want to be loving, romantic, whatever.
Yep.
But if I feel like I'm being nourished, oh my gosh, I'm like, what?
The possibilities are endless, right?
Yeah.
So a romantic thing I did. Go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to say this. That I will say that I think it's especially difficult for men right now to even say like, okay, well, I really want this. I need this. Because women are like, oh, he's sassy.
Right.
Oh, he wanted me to cook dinner and like be sexy or whatever. Oh, he's sassy. It's like, no, maybe he just wants to be loved on, just like he's trying to love on you. So,
and it's all of that is rooted in patriarchy, right? So really, men, you're not being loved, and it is your fault historically. However, it is on all of us to love each other. So I was just thinking, one of the most recent like romantic things I did was the shorty's birthday. My car got stolen. Fuck you, Colorado. So
Denver is acting like it is Inglewood. Okay, calm down.
Like, calm down. Like, it's the suburbs. This whole city is a suburb. They're gonna steal my car.
They think they're on the West Coast.
That's crazy. Anyways, so my car got stolen. So I rented a car for the weekend. We were gonna celebrate her birthday. It just turns out that it's like one of her favorite type of cars, right? Like, so the universe like really hooked that up for me or whatever. That was a surprise. Rented a car. We went to go get some food. We had a really nice dinner. And then we went to a play and saw a live musical rendition of A Raisin in the Sun, which was so beautiful, right? have front row seats,
Yes.
all of that.
Performing arts. Yeah.
Yeah, like showed up obviously with like flowers and, some art and all of that.
Yeah.
And so that to me felt really simple because we weren't dating at the time. And so it was kind of, we were trying to figuring it out. That felt really simple, but it was a really beautiful night.
Yeah, that's like a dream date.
Looked good. Like,
girlfriends, y'all should hear this. This is a really beautiful date for me. Okay, yeah, you show up with art and flowers.
Yeah.
Art and flowers, and we're going to a play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously front row seats.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
But I love romance. Like I love going on dates. I don't know. There's something beautiful about pursuing a woman. I love that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in femmes romantically. Yes, I'm polyamorous, and I am. Some people call anchor poly, or
what does that mean?
Which means that I'm looking for an anchor partner. I'm looking for a primary partner. Right.
Okay.
I want to be married again. I want to have kids. All of it. Like
you want to marry a woman?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I do want to marry a woman, Black woman. Oh, let me be clear about that. Romantically, I am interested in Black women. Sexually, it's okay. I like to be clear a lot.
I told Lex when we first talked, I was like, Lex, you're like a jack in a box.
Yeah.
You just wind the Lex up. You don't know what the fuck is going to come out.
You
You don't know what. You're like, I did. I told B, I was like, I've never met a person like you in my life. Ever. I love you. I love you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you also, right now, you date guys as well.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
you said no?
No.
That's a strong no. Okay.
I hang out with guys, and
Okay.
sometimes we have sex. I like to keep things very clear, like,
But there's no dating. There's no dating.
No.
You want to be married to a woman
Yes.
and an anchor partner,
Yes.
and then you have other. What does that look like? Because I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, so it can look like a lot of things, right? Like right now, it looks like I have other different connections with people who live in different states, right? Whether I've known them for a couple years or we met at a conference or something like that, right? And when we're together, right? And it's all of the people that I mess with, like, know that, right? Like, I will never, on the first date, I'm like, look, I'm polyamorous. Here are the connections that I have.
Yeah.
This is where this person lived, whatever. I may have fucked some of your mutuals. It happens, right? Like, I'm very super upfront and honest about all the things, right? Like, we'll introduce myself. Hey, I'm Lex. My pronouns are they, them. I'm bisexual and polyamorous. I'm a slut, right? Like, I've done that
This
before.
is everything
Like,
right here.
Here
Right
you
here.
go. You want to keep
fucking
talking
with it
or not? Like, So yeah, and so right now I just have connections or lovers, right? Like people who there is intimacy there. We may not live in the same state, or even if we are, but we're not like together. Like that's not like my girlfriend, right? But I'm on the market. I'm looking for a girlfriend.
Hey,
Black
maybe
woman.
life even.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up, I want to ask two questions. One, if anyone wants to know more, whether they're dealing with this themselves or whether it's a parent, a cousin, a friend, whatever, and they're like, I want to know and understand a little bit more about what they may be going through. Do you have any resources you can share?
Yeah, so Poly Resources, Poly Secure, super easy book to read. It's one of the first ones that I read when I started thinking about polyamory and the different ways we can have relationships. If you are a Black person and you grew up in a Black church and have struggled with your sexual identity, especially when it comes to like Christianity, a really dope book called Sexuality in the Black Church by Kelly Brown Douglas, phenomenal. And it really goes through historically of like, how did we get all of this homophobia that we got in the Black church? Phenomenal book. Another book that has helped me on my journey in general, Bell Hooks, All About Love.
Oh, I'm reading that now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm like,
After I read the first chapter, and then I was like, cool, and I put it down for 2 years because I wasn't ready.
I literally just started.
Loved?
Jesus. Have I been neglected all my life?
And then a book, and this next book that I'm going to say is really for Black folks. It's called The Spirit of Intimacy by Sabafu Sumay. And it really challenges the way that we think about relationships, not just romantic relationships or sexual relationships, but friendships, and thinking about it from more of a traditional African perspective. It's a really, really small book. The chapters are like 4 pages, right? Like easy read. And so those are like my off the dome resources.
I love it. What advice would you give to someone that was in a similar situation where they're like, I'm struggling with religion and who I am, I don't even want to say sexuality, but my identity. Yeah. What advice would you give to them?
Your love, man. Like, who you are is so important and necessary. And the more that we accept the fullness of our beings and all of the chaos and all of the things that we don't understand, I think the deeper our relationships become. I have such a better relationship with spirit and the universe because I'm honest about who I am, right? There are people, there are communities. One of the things that we learned in the height of COVID is that we can actually build communities online in very, very different ways. And so if you're not in a place where you have people around you who you can talk to, there's so many online communities that will accept you and walk you through. Be bold and ask questions, right? Be bold and take risks, healthy, safe ones, right? But ultimately, why not just be who you are, right? Like, I promise you, so many other things will align if we just can be committed to being like, I'm gonna just be me. Fuck all this other shit, I'm gonna be me.
That is my key phrase. You define you. No one else define, or don't let anyone else define you. You define you. And I lied, I have one other question, because this is a question that happens whether it's at work, with friends. Tell people why pronouns are so important and what that means to you, to people like you, the importance of stating your pronouns or acknowledging and accepting someone's stated pronouns.
Yeah. Pronouns are important for the same reason that someone getting your name correct is important, right? It's a sign of respect. It's a sign that says, I see you, I believe you, who you told me you are, and I acknowledge and respect you on that, right? Regardless of your belief, it doesn't matter, right?
It does not matter,
And so, and a lot of people with they, them pronouns like, oh, that's not correct English. So here's the thing. I have a bachelor's degree in English. Let's start there. And we do this all the time, right? Like if you're at a party and someone drops a purse or a wallet, you don't know whose wallet it is. Did someone drop their wallet? You're talking about one person. That wallet belongs to one person, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and so we use it commonly. We just like, sometimes I think because we don't want to understand the thing or it's not normal, right? Yeah. We want to reject it, right? Like, but it shows a sign of respect that you say, like, I see you, I acknowledge you in your full personhood, right? Yes. And I respect you. And so if I show up and I say my name is Lex and I use they, them pronouns, that's all, right? Like, you don't need to ask me my birth name. You don't need to know any of that.
And
right?
It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing if someone says, I go by they, them. Yeah. I go by he, him. And you're like, wait, huh? Right. I go by she. It costs you personally nothing to respect that and to acknowledge them by their preferred pronouns. Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah, this was so great.
This was so good. Thank you, Lex. I appreciate you. Fun. I appreciate your vulnerability. I can never say that word. I appreciate your candidness and really just like when we met, I told you, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I think this is so important to talk to our community about it, because this podcast is focused on the queer journey of Black and brown folks. Yeah. And so I do think it is important to share and educate. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Okay, until next time. Bye, y'all. Bye. As always, remember, you define you. Do not let others define you. Thank y'all so much for joining us for another episode of the Fake Straight Podcast. You can follow us on all the socials at Fake Straight Pod. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want to hear more of. Tell us what you love, what you didn't love. All that good stuff. And until next time, holla.